Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday to you. Sometimes I like to make video recordings for the discussion boards, and the week 4 discussion board on work-life balance is one that I feel is really important to address um, each one of your comments. And hopefully, I got everybody. Big list. So I'm going to go through this, and I'd like you to listen to my insights in my life related to your experiences in education as well. I'd like to start with Deanna and Sumaya and Kathleen because you all spoke about guilt, shame, and the struggles of work-life balance related to having either children at home that you're trying to care for, or a spouse you're trying to care for, or an elderly parent you're trying to care for. And this becomes really important for you to be a compassionate leader, because if you make people feel bad about trying to care for the people they love, you are never going to win their trust and loyalty. And once it's gone, I can guarantee you it is never going to come back. And we have all worked, well, maybe not all of us, but many of us have worked for administration that is quite rigid in these situations. And the problem is that we, in our moral foundation, we then struggle with being either a good daughter to an alien elder, or a good parent to our children, or a good employee, a good educator. And that conflict causes so much anguish and stress. Um, I had an administrator many years ago who I loved dearly, who, if my mom had been actively dying during his reign at our school, I would have felt much better about everything. I live only a couple blocks away from my home where I was caring for my mother. My mother lived with me. He was definitely the type of principal that would say, come in at the last minute if you have to, miss a meeting, go have lunch with her, go check on her during conference. He would definitely have somebody cover my class, and I'm thankful that I had so many great colleagues that did. When I went and checked on my mom, or had to get her, got a 911 and had to get her to emergency. But the administration that I had at the time when that was happening was not like that, and was docking me if I missed meetings, and harassing me if I was going home to check on her in conference period. And I just felt my whole spirit just I just felt harmed. And to give so many years to an institution, and as Kimberly said, they'll exploit you. And we heard that in the video as well. And Kimberly, you reminded me of a counselor at my school who passed away from one of my schools who passed away from pancreatic cancer. And she had just gotten ready to retire with her husband. And I was a young teacher at the time. And I went to go see her in her hospital room. She asked to see me alone. And she said to me, she held my hand because I was doing so much at school. And Lily, you were talking about this, about saying yes all the time as a new teacher. Experienced teachers say yes all the time too, but I was a new teacher. And she held my hand and she said, you have to take care of your family, and you have to take care of yourself, because if you die tomorrow, there will be somebody in your room to replace you the next day. And that reminded me when, Kimberly, when you talked about the exploitation, and he talks about the exploitation, and Kimberly and Araceli V and Lily, you all talked about boundaries, which are so important to set. Deanna, Sumaya, and Kathleen, it was more for me about struggling with leadership that was not supportive outside of the educational arena. Monica, Gabriel, and Joe, Cynthia, and Jessica, Araceli M, and Marla, you all talked about dedicated free time. That is so important, because what we do is we fill our schedule constantly, and then we don't have any downtime. And even when we leave school, then we'll be like, okay, I have all of these things to do at home. And once again, we don't have any downtime. And often we feel guilty when we take downtime. And what's interesting is in education, they're always quoting Fisher and Frey. But they never quote that Fisher and Frey say that one of the things that really helps with academic achievement with students is they have to have free time to process this information. They have to have reflective time. And James, you talked about self-reflection, and I'm going to get back to that. But they have to have reflective time. And of course, that's not the culture of education right now. It's bell to bell learning, which is not conducive to a happy, stress free brain that has some reflection, downtime to relax. And so, dedicated free time is very important. Uh, Ronnie and Maria, you both brought up time management, intention with time, really thinking about it. What's going to work for you, like a calendar, and what do you really want? Looking at your time as, is this worth my time? What commitments can I let go of? Really, look at that intention. And Wendy, you said such a funny thing about, oh, Maria, you talked about, oh, no, I said that with time management too. Wendy, you said a really funny thing about how mom's not available till October 14th. And I'm glad that that is a running joke at your house. I was going through, and you and I had talked about this privately, but I was going through a very difficult divorce when I was getting my master's degree. And cell phones had just come out, and it was like $1,000 a month, to have a cell phone. It's so funny to think about that now. And I remember I got my master's at Cal State Long Beach, and they've got this big hill. And I remember parking at the bottom parking lot and talking to my children, because I would go straight from work to school to get this done, talking to my children all the way, up the hill to my class, and then crying all the way down the hill after my class, because I had to get my master's to support my children, and going through a divorce and being away from them was very difficult. So I appreciated your comment. Mom's available October 14th. And this brings me to technology. Janae and Nicholas, you both talked about how technology is simplifying your life. And I think that's wonderful. When I teach the technology course here at Concordia, I talk about it being a double-edged sword. Technology makes things so much easier. Okay, like right now, I'm able to talk with you wherever you are in the world, which is fantastic. But if we're not good, back to Kimberly, Araceli, and Lily again about setting boundaries, that technology takes over our lives. And I think it was. I can't remember. Oh, it was Monica. I think it was Monica. You talked about on the Sabbath on Sunday unplugging. That you had talked to your pastor about it, or your pastor had done a sermon about it, and you unplug. And I think it's great that we all unplug. Marissa and Tampreet, you talked about not taking your work home. I stopped taking work home years ago. But one of the things that I'm finding now is with online learning, I'm home. Look, here I am. I'm home. My work is home. So I have to go back to setting clear boundaries, as Kimberly and Araceli and Lily were talking about. Melissa, you said something that was very important. You said you're setting an example for young people. And I've talked about this a little bit. I've talked about how when we have an outburst, or, we're triggered, or we're throwing a tantrum, or we're overwhelmed, we have to show people how we recover. That's what adults do. We apologize, we regroup, we recover. And you are being an example for young people. You're being an educational example. You're showing them how you live your life well-rounded, how you make room for free time, how you have boundaries, how you use technology smarter, not harder. All of these things are so important, and you are a model of this for your students. So thank you for sharing that. I thought that was great. James, you talked about self-reflection, and that's so important for all of us, self-reflection. And I don't know if any of you have seen the new Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary, but I'm going to talk about that in a second. But James, self-reflection is what became so important during the pandemic. And, I had just talked about purpose in my clip yesterday. People started reflecting. reflecting on what worked, reflecting on what didn't work, and what they wanted to change. And why did that happen? Because no matter how hard and horrible the pandemic was, do you remember the first few weeks when it gave everybody downtime? It gave people time to rest, and you saw people walking all over the neighborhood with their children and their dogs and getting out and visiting and, relaxing because there was nothing there was nothing they could do. Everybody was taking a breather, and that's where that self-reflection came in. So taking a few minutes to self-reflect daily or even weekly is powerful because you can look at what's going well for you and what needs to be, worked on. Brittany, small changes gradually. Absolutely. You hear this all the time in exercise and wellness. You're not going to go out on your first day of not doing exercise for 5 years and do a triathlon. Small steps. You're going to take a walk around the block, or you're going to lift a couple little weights, and then you're going to keep progressing forward and get it to move into a habit. And Melanie, you said something that all of us in here need to hear. Pick and choose your battles. That goes with your home relationships. That goes with your school relationships. Pick and choose your battles. There's a really funny thing in 12-step program that when somebody's like getting on your last nerve and you really just want to, call them out, but it's pointless. It's not going to matter in any way. It's just going to get you worked up and waste time. You say, you might be right. You might be right. And you move on. So picking and choosing your battles is a big deal. Timmy, you talked about reframing, and that's where I wanted to come back to Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was watching his documentary, and love or hate Arnold, his 3-part documentary is fascinating to watch because he was constantly reframing throughout his career, constantly reframing. And it's very interesting to listen to him. But yesterday, when I found out that my technology was wonky and that I hadn't been receiving all of my messages through Canvas, I lost it for a minute. I lost it for a minute. I have like a serious work ethic, as you all do, and I don't like missing things, and I don't like things when things go awry, and I'm a tech person, so I don't know what's going on, and that was frustrating. And I started to have like a little meltdown. I could feel my eyes welling up, from frustration. And all of a sudden, I heard Arnold's voice saying, "Oh, you going to cry like a little girly man?" And it was like, I know for some people that would upset them, but for me, it just made me laugh, and it gave me a moment, Timmy, to reframe. And then I was able to go, okay, look, I just need to reach out to IT. I need to contact IT. I need to email my students. I need to let my students know what happened. And then I need to move forward. Let it go. Do what I can, reframe, and let it go. And I've noticed that that's something that I still need to work on is that, especially when I do the brain research for USC, I'm not good when I make a mistake. I'm not always good at recovery. And it shows in the games. I'm thinking about the mistake instead of going back into the present and thinking about this brain research game I have to play. So food for thought. And proud of all of you for doing this course during summer school, and continue to work on that work-life balance. Your responses were fantastic. This cohort is so impressive. Really appreciate how deep and thoughtful you are. So have a wonderful day. I'm at 14 minutes. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.